Welcome back. This is Sarah from ALM, and today I'm sitting down with Chip Malboeuf. Chip just transitioned from chairman to immediate past chair of ALM. He's a longtime instructor at the college, and he spent decades in the industry, and he's not stepping out of any of it. He's still on the board, he's still in the classroom, and he's still doing the work. What we're going to talk about today is his time at ALM, leaders that inspired him, and what we need to do better in developing the next generation of leaders. So let's talk about it. So let's transition just a little bit, Chip, because a lot of the things that we've been talking about here recently are just about mentorship and guidance and good leadership. And so I want to take the opportunity to kind of ask you about that and ask you, who believed in you before you believed in yourself? That's one of the questions that I like right now. And so I thought I would throw it your way as well.
It's interesting. It's an interesting question to try and answer because you have to go back quite a ways when you get to my age. You have to go back to your first jobs and remember the people that I worked with fresh out of college, and they were the type of folks who were good mentors, and they were leaders without really being overbearing and let you have the opportunity to make mistakes and then learn from your mistakes. And so, looking back upon my first time in the real world where you leave college where everything is so regimented into the world where you have to actually produce things for a living. Working with my team back then was a interesting transition into learning from folks and just watching and observing back then. So I had a lot then, and then I came into the laundry industry from there, and just the mentorship of the people who had been in the industry for years. I always remember coming into the industry knowing nothing about this, you can make a career out of this industry. And then looking at the people that I looked up to back, in the 1990s and how they took me under their wing and let me try things and learn things. And again, it was the same similar leadership style. They let me make mistakes. And that to me, that was the way I learned the most was, making mistakes as long as everybody was safe and no one got hurt. It was okay to make mistakes, but then you learn from those. Basically, here's your goal, figure out how to get there, and I'm not gonna micromanage how you get there. And those are the people that I've tried to emulate my career after is to people can make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, and I've learned the most from those opportunities.
I couldn't agree more. And, I think what's been interesting about just having these conversations with other people is really getting people to think about this. And I think when we do step back and think about those that have shaped us and what it was that they did and sometimes didn't do, either good or bad, that has really helped shape your leadership style. Sometimes even when you don't even realize it. Have you found that to be true with you as well?
Yeah, because I was the leaders that I've had, the managers, supervisors, directors, vice presidents that I've had have all had and you and I with live this with image first is to be like a duck. And so, things can be very turbulent below the water, but they were always calm, and didn't panic. And I've tried to emulate that and tried to copy that as much as you can. And you figure out there things happen every day, and that you're going to have to figure it out, and just rely on the people around you to do that. And I think it's one of the hardest transitions when you get into leadership roles is you go from a doer to a delegator and then trusting the folks around you to get things done when you need them done.
Totally agree. And sometimes that transition is harder than you think, especially if you've not been in that kind of a position before. And you've watched a lot of people get promoted throughout the industry over the years, and you've seen the development side from inside the classroom at the college. In your opinion, what do you think that we're doing right, and where are we getting it wrong?
It's easier to figure out where we're getting it wrong. And many times we see people who are good doers and good workers, and we feel that, they're ready to take the next step and they're ready to be a leader. That's not the case for everybody. There are people that enjoy doing the task and don't enjoy leading people. And I think where we get it wrong many times is we feel like it's a rite of passage. You've been with me for a while. I've known you. I like you. You're a good worker. We're going to make you a supervisor. We're going to make you a director. We're going to make you and let you lead people. And not people aren't always born with that skill, and you got to figure it out and learn. And I think that's sometimes where we get it wrong is we promote because of time, service, and just because you're a good doer. And that doesn't always work. what I find that does work is you get people exposed to different leaders. You get them exposed, you get them involved in associations like our association, and they can see other folks who are in leadership positions and learn from that. And I think where we get it right in our college and in the different programs we have is they get to see different people along different paths of their career. And they get to find the folks who they can lean on as mentors. And I found that was one of the biggest values that I got going to different of the association events, um, learning colleges, those types of events is you learn a network of people that you can rely on and that you can lean on in times of trouble. And then when you just need to find that this is a leader that I like, I appreciate what that person does. And that's big. The biggest gain I think is where we get it right is through the ability for people to network in our association.
I agree. And a lot of times I still hear that old philosophy of, well, we don't want to send our people because we don't want them to be poached by other organizations. And we don't see that happen. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not, but I don't think we generally see that happen a lot. But I think what we do see is that companies become stronger when they're allowed to network outside of their own little bubble, because there's a lot of good people that are out there that happen to work for other companies, and you can learn so much by learning from them, and take that back to your company. I always felt like it made me stronger, to get that outside perspective.
And I think we can fall into a trap thinking we know everything. And yet some people look at you and go, "You're the expert." And I always give the analogy: I need to be an inch deep and a mile wide, and then I need to know when to pull the people in who are an inch wide and a mile deep, that know and are the experts in certain fields. And when you go to these events, and you can find these folks who can help you to dive into the details when you need them. And your point about, yeah, in the old days, people looked at those events, these colleges and these impact events that we have as ways that people look to poach others. I always look at it as a way to network with others, so that I can have a deeper network so that I can do my job better.
And if you're worried about people poaching, then you should look at your culture. Because if you have a strong culture and you've got an environment where people are set up for success, then that's not going to easily sway them.
Yeah, if you have a strong company culture where everyone's important and feels valued, they're not gonna. The grass is not always greener on the other side.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And going back to your point about how we promote people based on the job that they did, right? And then we expect them to do this different job, and we don't really show them the pathway for that. I, that's my story. I know it's so many, like it's so many people have the same story, and I think it is probably just an older way of thinking, but in reality, I think we're setting people up to fail when we do that, and we don't intentionally do it, but we treat an advancement as a reward. Hey, you did this job well. We're going to reward you with something else. But actually, it's a transition.
Right.
And so I think we need to change the way that we think about it. And we need to make sure that as we are transitioning these leaders into higher roles, that we're giving them the tools and the support and the networking, right, in order to be effective, rather than just expecting that someone as a natural born leader, if you will, is going to be able to pick up all of the things that they need in order to truly lead people successfully.
Yeah, because you bring up a good point. I mean, because a doer in a task, and someone that can do tasks well, doesn't necessarily translate that they're going to be a leader. And we do fall into that trap. And it's hard to know if they have the social aptitude and the skill set to step back. And I find myself falling into this too. I'm comfortable solving problems. That's as an engineer, that's what I'm trained to do, and that's what I love to do. And that's easy for me to fall back into that trap of doing and solving problems myself without delegating to my team. And so I think we fall back into our comfort zone. And sometimes that happens as we promote folks from within our industry and our within our organization, is it's easy for them to fall back into their um, it's easy to fall back into their comfort zone, which is doing, which is
Mhm.
not what they're really trying to get out of there, not what we need them to do.
If the next generation of leaders in the industry could take one thing from your career and just ignore everything else, what would you want that to be?
I think what I would like for folks to take from it is that the calmness that you go through, the challenges that you have. yes, it can be chaotic, and yes, things aren't always going to go your way. But taking the time to let others do their job, and to kind of be that duck again, to be the duck, paddle away under the water, but on top be calm and kind of and lead with a calmness so that not everyone gets frantic because not everyone works super well under pressure. And sometimes if your boss and your leader is frantic, that creates a whole different dynamic that makes it hard to solve the problems. And so, um, looking at my career is more of like a calm leadership method. And I'm not one of those yellers and screamers. And I get criticized for that from some other leaders in organizations that yeah they wish I would get more animated and get angry. But at times I'm more of the we'll calm, we'll figure this out, and then we'll move on from there.
And I can attest to that. Just so funny because I have to watch myself because I am by very nature, I'm very animated. So especially when things are challenging or I get upset,
Yeah.
like it comes out. But what I appreciate about you is that you can let me be in that space for a minute, when it's just us and I'm not having to be the leader at the moment. I can just, let you take the lead and you let me have the space to do that, and then you're always the calm and the steady, and that helps me to kind of come back down, as to where if I was having that same conversation with someone who gets just as animated as I am, I think it kind of ramps the situation up.
Yeah.
But with you, you're able to, like, hold space for me to where I can be like, "Can you believe this?" And then you're always like, "Okay, so what are we gonna do now?"
Our
And
one-on-ones are always interesting. It's always good.
I come with the animation and you
Yeah.
come just like the calmness.
Yeah.
But I like that balance between us, and I think it works, and I try to emulate that with my team, and with you, I think the dynamics of our relationship are different. I can have that animation, but also when I am the outward leader with my team and, even with others in the industry, I'm always just trying to have that calm force because how we show up is gonna either help the situation or it's gonna not, or it's gonna escalate it, and that's what I learned a lot from you on that and just how to de-escalate the situation by having a just having a calm demeanor in response rather than firing back with some animation.
We all have those moments. Yeah, because I do have those moments too. And it's where and it's funny when I work with people and they see that moment, they're like, "Oh, don't want to see that again." And so it's more of the and it doesn't really solve anything when I guess you blow off steam for a while, but it really doesn't solve the issue that created the situation. So um, over the years, I've learned that the calmness usually will help to solve the problem. It gets everyone in the right space where we can actually think and then solve the issue as opposed to just sit there and scream at each other for 5 minutes and nothing gets done.
Right. Or just even if it's an agreement, in escalation, you don't have to be yelling at each other, but just yelling at the problem together. Because I've done that. It's easy to do, right? You want to match people's energy. And so when they come at you like that, it's kind of easy to be that type of leader that just matches it. But I've learned a lot from you at how to just show up very calm and help to de-escalate a situation where people are, overly animated about whatever is going on in their response.
They're excitable, that's all.
Me?
No, not
N-
you. No, not at all, no.
So when you stepped into the chairman role, you had 2 years, right? Which we both agreed kind of sounded like a long time, and then it went by really quickly. But you that in that small amount of time, there obviously were some things that you wanted to take and to move forward. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about what meant a lot to you during your chairmanship and what you're were most excited about for the future.
I think we can go back to that one of the first moments we met, when you came on board and I was on board, and you asked me a question. I said, "I think ALM is one of the best kept secrets in the industry." And you looked at me and said, "We're gonna change that." And I think over the 4 years and the 2 years, we're no longer the best kept secret in the industry. I think we are the premier provider of educational opportunities in the healthcare laundry industry, in the healthcare industry. And I'm really proud of that fact that we have stepped up and we've been able to deliver on that aspect of it. The work that you and the team have done with things like Impact and the new Elevate program that we have, and the colleges continue to evolve. And I think that learning opportunities we've done a really good job on. And I think we've gotten the message out there, and we're no longer a best kept secret. And I really appreciate all the work and effort that the board has put in, that you have put in to make that a reality. And no longer do we look at each other and go, we're not the best kept secret anymore. We're no longer a secret. What we do is out there, and what we do is pretty darn good.
I couldn't agree more. That was, I don't think that you meant that as a challenge, when you said it. I think you were just speaking the truth, and it was the truth. We were well known in our circle, and the people who knew us saw the value in us, but we just needed to kind of expand that. But boy, there's not a day in the almost 4 years that I have been here that has left my mind, because I thought, gosh, he's right, and we can't accept that. We absolutely do good things, and we need other people to know and come on board and let us help them so that they can, ultimately grow and be better for their career and their operation.
The number of tools that we have developed and just really, I guess, enhanced on too in the past 2 years is really, when you step back and look at it, when you're going through it, you go, it's one step at a time. But now when you look back 2 years and 4 years ago to where we were and where we are now, we've enhanced and a lot of the learning tools that we have developed a lot better tools out there now that make it accessible to folks through virtual, through in-person learning. So the amount of information that ALM has available is really impressive, not only for the laundry and healthcare people, but also for the end users. The programs that we've developed, I think, even take it down to the user level, which is really, really, really impressive.
I couldn't agree more. And I, I think that's the one thing that I've appreciated about our member surveys is just taking that information and knowing and understanding what it is that is going to people are going to be able to respond to and relate to, and they keep asking us for those tools and those resources, and so as time has gone on, I've been able to spend a lot more time, and we as our staff and volunteers have been able to spend more time to develop those. It has made me realize that as an operator, there's all the things that we want to do and we feel like that we need, but we don't have the time to create it. And so I've felt a lot of passion, I guess, in trying to help develop these tools to help people that are out there doing the work every single day, and give them the things that they need to be better and more efficient. But they don't have to stop and take the time to do it because oftentimes they just don't have it.
Yeah, and one thing you've done a very good job on, and our team has done a good job on, is seek first to understand, and then through your surveys, you've listened to what the associate members want and what they need and acted on that, which has been a fantastic. It's a way to show our membership that, hey, we're listening to you. And then here's what we've done because you've asked for it. And I think it's been a great stride that the organization has made in the past 2 to 4 years is seek first to understand, develop the program, launch the program, and help the association members to grow and use these tools that we've given them.
I could have said it better myself, and thanks you for pointing out that's another lesson from Covey, and that I talked about in my first episode of my podcast. So, thanks for drawing that parallel there. That was really cool. Okay, is there anything else that you want to add before we close it out?
Uh, it just, you asked about the 2 years. The 2 years go by fast, and really, I think what is great about my experience is the board members. I think our board is a great mix of people. We don't always agree on everything, which is great because you can't. If you had a board of just people that agreed, it probably wouldn't work out very well. But I really have appreciated the time to work with you, to work with the entire board and the association, and so it's been a good group, and I really feel the association is in great hands moving forward. I'm really excited for Liz and her chairmanship, and then right behind that comes Rocco. So the association is set up really well for the next 4 years with your guidance, with the leadership, with the staff that we have. I am really excited to see where this goes. And again, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be on the board for the next 2 years. I'll continue to teach at the college. And that's the one thing I also want to stress to individuals out there too, looking to grow in the industry is put yourself out there. You've talked about this in the past, as you developed this podcast and you started to do your blog, is putting yourself out there. And one thing that I found that was very beneficial in my career is volunteering. volunteer to present, volunteer to teach, volunteer for a committee. It allows you to put yourself out of your comfort zone, but it allows that's to me when I learned the most is when I was volunteering, when I was doing things that was a little bit different for me. It allowed me to look at others, to learn how they performed, how they did something. But I learned the most is when I threw myself out there and said, yeah, I'll present on that. I'll do that. And I think that that teaches you, and it also allows you to become a better leader and become a better, I guess, advocate for the industry, and become like that trusted advisor in the industry. And that allows you to continue to grow the industry without really knowing that you're doing it.
I couldn't agree more. And I will tell you this too, and you probably have the same experience, and so I'll be interested to hear your take on it. But there's a difference in serving on a committee and presenting. I feel like those feed kind of different parts of who you are. But then there's also a difference in doing a presentation or presenting and instructing a class and teaching people something. Did you find that to be true?
It is, and if anybody tells you they don't get nervous before they get up and present, I think they're probably not telling you the truth. The way I find that connects most with the team and with who you're trying to teach or to present to is to give examples. I think people relate to real life examples. They relate to instances they go, "Oh yeah, that's kind of what I faced before." So I think yeah, teaching and presenting bring on a whole different set of skills, but I really encourage people to do that. Even the people on my team, I encourage them to do that. To step outside, to teach, to volunteer, to be a presenter. It forces you to learn because you don't want to get up there and be just bumble and stumble around for 45 minutes or an hour. So I think getting out there and teaching is a great opportunity for you to hone your skills, presentation skills. I think those are really important in this day and age. And it's a much different skill set when you're doing it virtually versus in person. And I definitely enjoy the in-person presentations more than the virtual because I can feel energy and you can feed off energy and stories. Where virtually is a little bit more of a challenge. And there are some folks who are very good at the virtual side of things. But I couldn't agree with you more. Is I think putting yourself out there and teaching and presenting is a great way for you to learn and to grow as an individual and a leader.
I agree. And to me, the way that you prepare, kind of like what you were saying, the way you prepare and the way you show up in presenting versus teaching is so different. But at the heart of why I love teaching so much is because you get the opportunity to when you're presenting, you're giving information and you're just not like it's almost like a one-way conversation. But when you're teaching, you are you have the opportunity to have that interaction more and then you get those aha moments. And when you have that for the first time feels like the 100th time, I think. But when you can see that what you're saying is actually causing something to click in someone's head and that they're really taking something away from it, there's nothing I think more gratifying that I've ever done in my career than be a part of that. And it's because you can see that what you're doing and what you're saying and what you're teaching is actually truly making a difference, for someone else, and we always hope that they go back and take that and drive meaningful change at their facility, so, that's where a lot of it has the ability to happen, so it looks different for everybody how you volunteer, what you do, whether it's on a committee or, maybe you volunteer just to write an article or, all the way up to presenting and doing webinars and teaching classes. There's a lot of ways to get involved, but it enriches your own life and your own career whenever you take the opportunity to do that.
100%. I couldn't agree more on. And just to put to volunteer and do these things, it allows you to get outside of what your day to day is and what you think is, this is it broadened my horizons so much. And I remember my leaders back in the day would encourage us to do that. And that I've always done that for our team too, is to get out there, to volunteer, to go to these committee meetings, to go to the association events, and just learn. And then eventually you become more involved and you get caught up in it. And it is gratifying to teach at the college where I'm fortunate enough I get to teach for an entire day. And what's fun about that is you never know where the conversations are going to go during the days. We have such a wide range of experience in the classroom that the conversation goes in so many different directions, and it's just fun to watch that aha moment. They go, "I get it." And I may be teaching stuff on laundry to teach you what a tunnel washer does, but there are folks in there who are limited distribution who have no idea what a tunnel washer is. They think it's just a magic tube that stuff drops in dirty and comes out clean, and they just, so they don't understand the concept. But then they can find a way to relate the processes that we go through in the laundry to their everyday work in EVS and in linen distribution. And so those are the moments where, as a teacher, as a leader in that room, a very gratifying moment when they get something and they can relate and take it back to their everyday life and then make their job.
Yeah, that's what, it's funny that you say that about the tunnel. That's what took me to the college. Because I had this big, huge tunnel washer, and they were telling me how it worked, and then they told me it didn't take Tide, and
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the concept. Like, how in the world do you get how do you get this linen clean if it doesn't take Tide?
It's
And that was
magic.
a clue that I kinda needed to go, to the laundry college and learn how chemistry worked in a commercial laundry setting.
Yeah, exactly. It's not it yeah, it's a magic tube. Stuff drops in dirty, comes out clean.
But yeah, with no Tide.
Right, no time.
Well, Chip, as we close, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. But
So
thank you for your continued leadership. And the last 4 years have been a lot of fun. You're a large part of that. You've also been the rock and the steady. And there were times that we definitely needed that, and I really appreciated that you brought that to the table, and look forward to not only the next 2 years of you being on the board, but now you're mine for life. So
that's right.
you might think you're going somewhere, but you're not really. Like you're always gonna be on my speed dial.
I am 100% there for you. I'm here for the association. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, when you enjoy something, it goes by fast. So when I look back now, I go, man, it's been 2 years of chairman and 2 years in the vice chair, and it's like that time flies by. But it's because we have good people. I mean, the staff has been awesome to work with. The board has been a great board to work with, and we all have the same goal in mind: is to advance the association. So we all have the betterment of the association in mind, which is we're all pulling in the same direction, which is great.
Agreed. Agreed. And you were right about that. We don't always agree. Boy, I tell you what, that the board doesn't always agree, for sure.
Yeah,
But you've brought that steady and calm, and we've been able to. I think we're better for the fact that we don't want a bunch of yes men. But it's being the dynamics of the board have definitely played a huge part in the success that ALM is seeing today. And thank you for leading the helm for the last 2 years, and we'll look forward to the guidance for the next two.
I'm here.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks.
If you've been around the industry for any length of time, you've probably been in a room with Chip, or you've learned something from him at the college, or seen his name on something that mattered. What I hope you walk away from this conversation with isn't a list of what he's accomplished or what he's done. He wouldn't want that. But what he would want, and what I hope that you walk away with, is how he talks about his work, how he talks about the people that he's invested in over the years, and how he talks about what's still ahead for our industry. If you have your own version of the people who built you, the ones who watered your growth when you couldn't yet do it for yourself, I'd love to hear about them. Send me a message, leave a comment, tell me their names. The platform that I'm building is meant to be a place where we honor these people out loud while they're still doing the work and shaping it. Thanks, Chip, for spending time with us today. The industry is better for the way that you've spent your career, and we're better for the fact that you're not done yet. Until next time, let's go out there and do something with what we just talked about.